Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So I'm so excited for today's video because I'm finally going to talk about the characters from Survivor. So for those of you who don't know, this is my newest book. It is book 6 in the Valiant series, but it can be read in any order. So if you haven't read my other books in the Valiant series, which are about to fall over, it's okay. You can jump right on into Survivor. Survivor is like Survivor, the reality TV show mixed with the Hunger Games. It's an epic fantasy genre in an epic fantasy world. There's a lot of world building and race building. The Night Climbs have a tradition of kidnapping people, 50 people, and forcing them to play a game to the death, basically. Everyone calls it a nightmare. They have to go through deadly obstacle courses and puzzles and combat alliances, betrayals, things like that. So due to the nature of the book, I haven't talked about the characters. I was pretty zip on it for a while because I didn't want to spoil who the main characters are or aren't, who may win, who may lose, any of that stuff. It's a multi-POV book, and the main characters and who wins, who loses, like all of that is kept secret so that readers are kept guessing. So I'm going to go through the characters. Yeah, so I'm so excited to finally get to talk about the characters. So to avoid any potential spoilers because I had them like organized in my personal notes by order of appearance and teams and stuff. So to avoid spoilers, I'm going to be going through them in alphabetical order. Anyways, without further ado, I'm excited to finally talk about the characters of Survivor in alphabetical order. So let's get started. Let's do this. So as I said, this is a huge multicast book. By the way, the Kickstarter is still currently going on. So the link to the Kickstarter will be in the description below if you want Survivor, or if you're interested in the other Valiant books. I do have tiers for different things like that. So please go check it out. I would be most appreciative. As of the time of recording this, I'm working toward my first stretch goal, which is all backers will be added to the main book when it releases in November. So the Kickstarter edition is going to go to all the backers, but this is actually a regular edition because I don't have my Kickstarter editions yet. But everybody in the acknowledgements page, which I actually have in the dedication page, all of the backers will be directly named. And that's going to be the one that's published wide on Amazon and everywhere else. So you want your name in the book. It becomes like immortalized and very much part of the process. That's the first stretch goal I'm working toward. When I'm recording this, when you guys are watching this, hopefully we're working toward other ones, but that'll be listed in the Kickstarter if you're interested. So anyways, without further ado, let's get into this. So starting with number 1, we have Adason. So she is a Night Climb, which means she is from the race that actually does all of this. So really quick context, we have 3 different races. We have the core. The world is called Hycum. We have the core of Hycum is like the interior core of the planet, and that's where the Night Climb live. Long time ago, the Night Climbs thought, hey, we're the best. So they kicked the other 2 races out onto the surface. And that's where you have the Wrens who live on the surface, and they scrap different pieces of like shipwrecks and metal parts and old tech and anything that they can get their hands on, and they have to scrounge and scrape and try to, trade to survive. So they usually travel around, but some have claimed territories near wrecks and things like that, because it's like the surface of the planet is a wasteland, and it's very much like a space junkyard where all the wrecks and all the junk of space kind of lands. So that's where they scrap around for things. And then the Lymeers is the 3rd race, and they ended up living in the Crystal Mountains, higher up, closer to the atmosphere, like where the atmosphere is thinner and stuff. And so those are the 3 different races. So Adason, being a Night Climb, means that she grew up in the core as a Night Climb. And so they're very graceful. They're very haughty and arrogant as a people. They serve the regime. So a lot of Night Climb, like Adason and her family, in her case, they were nobles pretty close up with the regime. So she grew up with parents. And the reason why she's so soft-spoken is because of her parents and the way that she was taught to be quiet and just to serve the regime and stuff like that. I won't spoil backstory stuff. So that's kind of like Adason's personality and story and things like that, and kind of the life that she grew up in, serving under the strict fist and iron rule of the regime. So she grew up watching the games, and so eventually there was some sort of rebellion, and that's why, again, I won't spoil things for you, but when the regime throws their own race into it, it's usually because they have wronged the regime in some way. So that's why she ended up in the games. Next up, we have Ayan. Ayan is used to being used as a servant. She is actually a Wren. So as the Wrens travel around and kind of scrounge for different pieces and tech and old metal and stuff like that on the surface of the world Hycom, some Wrens do claim territories near, you know, really good kind of wrecks that they can continuously kind of pull from and trade with other people. They kind of establish themselves. It's rare, not really rare, but it does happen. She and a family member that I won't name ended up as servants for another Wren family. So her and her family member didn't have anything, and so they ended up serving the other family. So they, in exchange for serving them like servants, they got, you know, a place to stay, and they would get food and stuff like that. So she's used to kind of being bossed around. So she prefers to like be told what to do. And so a lot of times when everything first happened, she's kind of like lost. She's very fearful and afraid and terrified, and she does kind of hide behind her hair. That's kind of one of her little quirks. So next up we have Beru. She's lazy, used to having everything handed to her, and so she's a Wren who acts more like a Nyclime. And there's a little bit of a twist with her story that I won't spoil for you guys, that's revealed later on in the book. So she has a very unique story, but she basically had a life of luxury, and that's all I'll say. And that has made her where everything was handed to her. She is very lazy, and so she doesn't do a whole lot. She lays around, she sleeps. She is a disaster to have as a partner. So whoever she ended up as a partner with, we feel sorry for them. And again, I'm not going to spoil that for you, but yeah, so that's pretty much Beru. She also has one of her traits that I really love for some reason is that she has this high-pitched screeching type voice that grates on people's nerves. So it's really hard to be around her and talk to her just because it's really hard to listen to her. So next up we have Chia. She is actually twin to the character Nashton, which we'll talk about later when we get to the ends. So she's a Wren as well. And, again, she's a little naive and gullible when she's alone. She's ignorant of the world. Nashton kind of helps her navigate that. She has a lot of like curiosity. Some of these are kind of old notes, but she has a lot of like curiosity, and she questions things, and she's curious to like learn more and know more. They lived in a territory near a big wreck that was claimed, and so Nashton worked as a guard, which we'll talk more about him later. So he worked as a guard, and so she was able to kind of have a stable life because Nashton kind of helped raise her and provide for her after their parents died. So her and Nashton have this really close relationship. Next up, we have Destre. He is a Nyclime male, and he's, I think, the only Nyclime male in here. The other Nyclimes who are in the games are all female. There's a handful of them. So he is arrogant. He is high and mighty and kind of rude. He's very haughty and arrogant. He's extremely narcissistic. He is kind of lazy, so he doesn't really seem to do a whole lot. Although there are people who do note that, okay, as a Nyclime male, all Nyclime males are required to serve in the Nyclime military at some point, so he does know how to fight. And so some people, I remember one scene in particular, when I'm not spoiling anything, but there's basically one person cautions another person against attacking him because he is a really good fighter, even if he doesn't act like it. So yeah, Destre is definitely a cool, like, fun character in the sense that he is just really arrogant and narcissistic and stuff, but there's a little bit more with him, so cut that part out. I don't know how to talk about these people without spoiling them. So later on, at some point, there is a little bit more with him. Okay. So yeah, that's Destre. Elzia is, another Nyclime. Okay, anyways, Elzia is another Nyclime female who's been thrown into the game. So again, if you're a Nyclime and you've been thrown in the game, chances are you or a family member has angered the regime in some way. And so them putting you in the game is either to punish you or a family member, whoever has wronged the regime in and around you, connected with you. And in Elzia's case, her family is nobles that are extremely high up with the regime. And so she was raised by her parents. She's very realistic, practical. She's very logical. She is very, she's like the perfect Nyclime female because that's who she was raised to be. So she doesn't have a lot of direct or like skills or things like that because she was just taught to, kind of, conform and just be a good Nyclime female kind of thing. And she was with the elites, especially. Her purpose was to get married and have children and grow your family and serve the regime and value their technology and their way of thinking. And so she grew up watching the games and things like that. So And in her case, I'm pretty sure the family member that angered them wasn't part of the main family, so she was kind of chosen. So she still not really has allegiance to the regime, but she still has a very, very real fear of them, even if she doesn't show it outright. And so she still acts more akin to like a Nycline female, keeps her head down, wants to stay away from anybody who's been a threat to the regime and things like that. And that's where her kind of like logical mindset can come in. I wanted to note, one thing about Adason is she is actually very intelligent, and she is really good at being quiet and people kind of overlooking her, and she can kind of listen in and hear conversations really easily, which comes into play in the story. Anna is number 7. Anna is gentle and shy, and she's used to moving around a lot, so she's not used to having anything really stable. And so because of that, she's a wren, so she used to live on the surface, and her family would scrape and scrounge and things like that. They would move from junk pile or to junk pile, wreck to wreck, that sort of thing. So she does not have anything. She doesn't have anything stable, and she's kind of used to being more of a follower, similar to Anne, but not quite as timid. And although Anna has, I think she has a stuttering problem, not all the time, but when she gets really, really nervous, she starts stuttering, and she's used to kind of keeping her head down and not trying to, you know, cause any trouble or anything. And she's extremely shy and quiet and stuff like that. So Hosner is another wren, and he is very strong. He's good with his hands. He's a hard worker. He's kind of like what this fantasy version equivalent of like a good country boy. So his skin is kind of like tan and leathery from just hours working and scrapping out in the sun, especially some of the areas and territories where the sunlight is like harder and harshest. It can be kind of brutal in the wasteland where they live. It's not quite a desert. It's like a jagged kind of like a very jagged kind of wasteland. So yeah, he is just a hard worker. He values hard work. So just practical survival skills and stuff like that. Bit of a country boy. So he's a bit of a, more of like a strong kind of, I don't know what the word is, but like where he's not all that, like he's not overly intelligent. So he's just kind of like, you know, big, strong man, you know, that kind of thing. Next up we have Ike. Ike is a young father. He's good-natured. He's a little bit immature. He's another wren. So he specifically is used to kind of leading his family around and scrapping things and providing. So he makes a really good father. He loves his wife. He loves his children. He really wants to get back to them, and he really wants to not just get back to them because he misses them, but because he's the provider and he's worried about them. But he tries to kind of keep, you know, good nature. He makes a good father in the sense that he is very immature, so he's very playful with his children, with his wife at times, so he's not quite as mature as he should be for situations like this. He's another wren, so he has that kind of like country southern kind of like way of talking and seeing the world. Next up, we have Geron. He is another wren. He was used to traveling around. He has another story. I don't know how to say that. He's used to traveling around. He got in with a group of wren who did travel from territory to territory, trying to get the best that they could. He is very charismatic. He's a people person. He's good with people. He's honest. He's an extremely hard worker. He's actually even more hardworking than Hosner, where he is always going around making sure everybody's okay, making sure everybody has enough, making sure the shelter's being built, making sure things are getting done, you know, just making sure that everybody's safe and okay, and he'll be the first to step in and protect somebody. He's extremely selfless, so he puts people's needs before his own. Sometimes that can be a negative thing. So that's Geron. Also, I've been forgetting, have we had any art yet? Okay, so Geron is actually one that we have a cover up the art on the side. So that is the art, the sketch done of Geron from my editor, H.A. Pruitt. So that's the sketch that she did of him. Yeah, so this is the sketch of Geron that my editor, H.A. Pruitt, did. And the Kickstarter edition of Survivor has a detailed character guide that goes over all of these details and more, because it does contain spoilers for the book. So when you're done with the book or as you're going through it, you can kind of go through it too. And 12 of those will have these sketches in there. So I'm excited about that. So again, shout out to H.A. Pruitt, my editor and the designer of these sketches. So that is Geron. He was also one that did get art done. So that is not the right one. And that's the art done of Geron by moymoy13.art right there. So, but next up we have Jyla. So Jyla is another Wren, and she was one of the Wrens that lived in acclaimed territory. I believe she actually raised her siblings alone, so she's really motherly, which makes her kind of bossy and protective. She's a little bit kind of blunt and commanding and kind of just very... She's very bossy and kind of blunt and stuff, but it's kind of like brings out her motherly nature to make sure that everybody's kind of taken care of, and like everything, somebody's got to be doing something, somebody's got to get something done. We can't just sit around and do nothing and stuff like that. So Jyla is another one that my editor H.A. Pruitt designed. So that is the sketch of Jyla, done by, again, my editor H.A. Pruitt designed, which I love. I feel like it's so perfect. It is literally Jyla. She's got this wild, curly, kind of brown hair. She wears this cape over her that she kind of keeps tucked to her. It's a little bit of a quirk about her, and I feel like it's captured her perfectly. So that is Jyla. Next up is Katya. So Katya is a Wren who lived with her parents in acclaimed territory, and she's clumsy. She's not used to being around people. She was an only child. Let me... Okay, anyways. She lived with her parents who lived in acclaimed Wren territory, and she's an only child, and her parents sheltered her and protected her and kept her from kind of facing some of the real world situations that were going on around them. So she's very clumsy. She's extremely socially awkward. She is not good with people. She's extremely innocent and naive because of that, and because of how they overprotected her. And yet again, we have a sketch of her from my editor, H.A. Pruitt, so shout out to her. So that is the sketch of Katya. Again, she's really unsure and awkward and scared. She doesn't understand body language and kind of get social cues and stuff. She kind of misses that a lot of times. And she is also the woman here in this illustration done by moymoy13.art on Instagram. So that is Katya. So shout out to moymoy13 and also H.A. Pruitt, my editor, because the sketch is wonderful. The art is wonderful. Let me show you the sketch again. So yeah, it's just like, again, it captures their face and everything perfectly. I just cannot get over how gorgeous it looks. H.A. Pruitt especially, because like it's like really zoomed in on the face. So it's all just gorgeous. Next up, we have Kine. Kine is a Wren, and he is selfish but quick thinking. So he's actually like really intelligent. He fights very, very well, but he is extremely selfish. So he learned to survive by basically surviving alone. So he almost lived the life similar to a Lemire, but as a Wren. And so he learned that the way to survive is to serve yourself. And so he's extremely selfish. He doesn't really do anything. He's like the opposite of Duran. He will not help anybody but himself, and he will serve only himself. So he's another one that my editor H.A. Pruitt designed. So he has this angry expression on his face. Again, she captured the tattoo. He has this tattoo going down the side of his face into his neck. He also keeps his hair swept to the side because he runs his hands through it. So she did that perfectly. I mean, it's fantastic. So that's pretty much Kine. We have a lot of Wrens, I've noticed. Next up, we have Luxir. Luxir is actually a Lemire. I think he's actually the first Lemire we've talked about. So there's not too many of them. They're kind of elusive. But Luxir is a loner. He doesn't actually hate people. I don't know why that's on there. But he is patient. He is a loner. He is very logical, and he's very logical minded. He's not emotional, so he doesn't really get emotional lately at all. So in my case, he would actually be helping and kind of grounding if I'm getting overly emotional about things. He sees things in a very logical, kind of practical way. He knows how to survive. He's lived on his own his whole life, lived the life of a Lemire, climbing up in the Crystal Mountains, and that's given him the skills that he needs in order to survive. So he actually can fight. He knows how to survive. He's extremely athletic, not only from being a Lemire, because they have that climbing kind of dexterity and agility that the other races don't quite have. The other races do have agility and dexterity and things like that, but the Lemire have it to an extent that the others don't. So he's used to all of that. And so he also has a sketch and an art as well. So this is Luke Sear, designed by H.A. Pruitt. This is like spot on perfect. I love all of the sketches, but this sketch I could just stare at. Like, this is Luke Sear when you're looking at him. Like, it is so amazing. And he is also in the art. So this is Luke Sear in the art with Katya, if you can put 2 and 2 together. It's a really cute scene, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. You can put 2 and 2 together if you may. I'm trying not to spoil things, I swear. So that's Luke Sear. Next up we have Mayu. Mayu is a middle child. She's a Ren, and she actually lived with a Ren caravan, and she became a healer. I won't spoil why or how, because there's a little bit of a story there. I really love Mayu's character, and she's one I would love like a bonus story from, just to kind of like get in her head a little bit more in her story before she was part of the games. So she's actually a healer. Like, she's one of the few healers around who knows how to tend to wounds and things that made her valuable, and that's how she kind of like why the caravan kind of kept her around. So she kind of made herself useful to the caravan as they traveled from place to place and from spot to spot to kind of scrap things and everything. Next up we have Mir. Mir is a liar, a trickster. He is reckless. He is extremely charming. He is a liar. He is a misogynistic jerk, and he is rude. Everybody hates him. All the readers are going to hate him. He is misogynistic, so he enjoys putting women in their place, and it makes him happy if they resist. Especially if he like charms them and they resist. Like, the more fiery or resistant a woman is, the more he's going to enjoy trying to trick them and, you know, lure them in and all that stuff. He gives women nicknames that they don't necessarily want, and he gives them attention that they don't want. So you need to watch yourself if you're around Mir. He is not a good guy to be around. He is extremely selfish and self-served, self-centered. He makes Kine look like an angel, which is not the case. So that is Mir. We do have a sketch of him. One of the quotes, this is designed by H.A. Pruitt. I remember in her editing process, she would write in the margins, "Nobody likes you, Mir." And so I'm like, I need that to be a quote on a t-shirt. It's like, "Nobody likes you, Mir." He is written to be antagonistic, so it's okay if you hate him. I get it. Another quote from my editor is, "I hope he chokes on a chicken nugget," or something like that. So I thought that was really funny. I don't think there's any, yeah, that's the only art from him. So that is Mir. We've got to have some characters to hate, right? I mean, it's inevitable. But he is a Ymir. He grew up living alone and surviving, so that's kind of where some of his stuff came from. I have desires for bonus story. Moving on. Nashton, back up to Nashton. So this is Chia's twin brother. So we talked a little bit about that and how they lived near a claimed territory that was near an old wreck. And he became a guard for the people in that claimed territory, that like mini Ren city that actually like kind of sprouted near that big wreck. So he became a guard. So Nashton is used to serving and protecting the people and making sure that everything's safe. There are other Ren groups and traveling Ren groups that will try to take other claimed territories. So there's a lot of infighting with some of that kind of stuff, where people will fight each other for certain territories and for some of the best like wrecks and places to scrap. So he had to fight and defend the city against several of those situations, and there's kind of a story there that I won't spoil for you guys. He did raise Chia after their parents passed away, so she was kind of sheltered and protected, and he kind of has that nature too, where he will do anything for his sister. He loves her dearly. He has a high moral code and a high moral standing, so he basically is like a good guy who is used to kind of doing good to protect everybody else, and to protect other people and to serve, like to help and everything. So he's another one that we have a sketch for. So that is Nashton, designed by H.A. Pruitt. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love Nashton so much. And I don't have art of him directly, but technically speaking, a little tidbit is that this is the back of him. In that opening shot at the acid lake, that is him. So pretty excited about that. So yeah, that's Nashton. Next up, we have Naxir. So Naxir is a Ymir. He is cold and distant. He'll do anything to get what he wants. He's cruel. He loves to fight, so he kind of lives to fight, and he kind of lives the typical Ymir lifestyle. He does get along with other Ymir males like Mir, so he is kind of like one of Mir's henchmen, if you catch my drift. So we've got to have more unlikable characters. So that's pretty much Naxir. You don't want to get too close to him. You don't want to befriend him. You don't want to try to do anything with him. Next up is Neve. So next up we have Neve, and she is strong, she is brave, she is courageous, and she has been taught, she's a Nyclime, and her father was very much against the regime, so there was a lot of tension there, and her father kind of taught her, nobody's going to help you, you're going to have to help yourself. And so she learned from a very young age what that means. So she doesn't trust anybody, she is extremely mistrustful, she's extremely independent and fiercely independent, and kind of not really selfish and self-serving, but that does kind of cause a little bit of selfishness and self-serving kind of nature within her, just because people aren't going to help me, I have to help myself, and that's all I can do kind of vibe, kind of mentality. But she is very strong, and her father taught her how to fight, and they fought against the regime. So there's a lot more backstory there that I won't get into. But she does know how to fight. So I would probably argue that she's one of the females that can fight the best, and she could probably hold her own against some of the good male fighters in this group. So that is Neve, and we do have a sketch of her from H.A. Pruitt. So that is H.A. Pruitt's design of Neve, and I'm like, oh, it's perfect, because she keeps her hair tied back at the nape of her neck, and she's really got that really, what am I trying to say? The Nyclime kind of look to her. And we do have art of her as well. I need to close some of these because this is getting out of hand.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
So this is Neve. Again, the blonde hair, the thin kind of streamlined appearance for the Nyclimes, and it's, you know, this and the sketch is like totally perfect. The sketch really captures her facial features and everything else. I'm trying to find it again. It really captures her facial features perfectly, and then this art is just gorgeous. The emotion on both of their faces. So moving on, I'm horrible at this game. It's not a game, but whatever it is, I'm horrible at it. Okay, Osias I love Osias. So he is responsible, he's physically strong, he is strong-willed, he is like the rock that you will never be able to break down. So he's got a beard, and he's one of the few Ren who actually has brown hair and a brown beard. Ren actually has multicolored, not like multicolored hair, but like different colored hair. So it's very rare for them to be brown haired. So he is the big dumb kind of brute, and he's not really dumb because he does have some intelligence, but it's like, he's not, you know, like an intelligent Nyclime over here, you know, solving the greatest of puzzles, but he is very strong. He is super strong-willed, so you're not going to break down this guy's will. He does the right thing, and he's used to protecting like his family members because he was like the biggest and the strongest, and so he loves protecting women. You know, he's a little bit charming, not overly, but he's just like in a sweet kind of way, not necessarily charming. So that's Osias. We love Osias. He's like a good-natured country boy, basically. You know what I mean? Like yeah, like I could see him almost like in modern day being like a lumberjack or something. But yeah, that's Osias. I love Osias. Some people call him Oasis. I noticed a lot in the audition was doing that. It's pronounced Osias. So, and I love the name. So next up, another character that I really love is Corin. She is a Nyclime who, her family did go against the regime like more openly, and she is a Christian, even though the regime kind of banned belief in the Father a lot, in God. She is really intelligent. She is highly intelligent. She's super, like most Nyclime women are graceful to some extent and elegant. She is formal and elegant and kind of makes a good Nyclime female noble, but she is also highly intelligent. She's really good with technology. She's really well read and well spoken. She is super intelligent, so she uses that to her advantage in the game. So we do have a sketch of her. So this is Corin, designed by H.A. Pruitt, the sketch of her. and it is perfect. So she is a Nyclime that is actually a lot skinnier. I think a Dason is the skinniest and has a collarbone that kind of like her collarbone and her shoulder bones are really bony and sticks out. So she's slightly skinnier than like Neve, who is has a little bit more muscle on her, but she isn't quite as skinny as like a Dason, who is like skin and bones. So she's still just that slender kind of Nyclime appearance to her. And she is actually the girl in the center from behind here at the Acid Lake Challenge. So that is Corin. And again, H.A. Pruitt did wonderful with the sketch. So next up we have Raven. So Raven is a dreamer and an optimist. She always tries to see the positive in things. She has these like affirmations that she says to herself to try to like stay positive. So she tries to uplift everybody else. And sometimes with the dark circumstances, it's like that she's a little naive and innocent. So it's like the first time that she's really faced something so dark and hurtful and things, but she tries to keep her optimism and her hope alive despite the circumstances. So we do have a sketch of her. So that is Raven, designed by H.A. Pruitt, and it's just capturing her joy, the joy that is just all over Raven, and it makes me so happy. She has curly blue hair that's like these curly thick ringlets, and I just feel like she captured that perfectly. And then we also do have art of her. So that is Raven in that scene. Next up we have Reeve. I love Reeve. So Reeve is one of my favorite characters. He is a Wren who is a joker, positive, optimistic. He's happy all the time. He kind of had to be with the way his family lived. So there's a lot more backstory there that I won't get into because spoilers. But he is just the joker. He's the comedic relief. He tries to make sure everybody's laughing and having a good time despite the circumstances. So he just wants to put a smile on everybody's face. He's also still a hard worker, and he still knows how to scrap and stuff, so he still tries to help everybody out. One of his quirks is that he has a coin in his hands, and he like plays with it, and he like flicks it from his fingers, and he has that coin in his hand. So like if you see anything to do with a coin, it's with Reeve, and I don't have a sketch or art of him, sadly. I failed him.
I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you.
So next up we have Rias. She is a Wren. She's the youngest child. She's kind of used to being the center of attention. So she kind of had that same mentality where life was really hard. So a lot of Wren families protected their kids because it was like hard to survive. So like, you know, any sort of children you have need to be protected. And so she was just used to being the center of attention. She kind of likes being the center of attention. And that's basically kind of how she lived her life. So that's kind of what she knows. Next up we have Shade. So his family abandoned him. He's a bit of an introvert. Really, he's extremely an introvert. I don't know why I said a bit. He is an extreme introvert. He is extremely standoffish. He's very angry. He's very rude. He kind of uses the Wren version of cussing all the time. So he's angry. He is constantly angry, and he's rude, and he's no fun to be around. So that is Shade. Again, we have a sketch of him designed by H.A. Pruitt. So that's what Shade looks like. And we do have art of him. So that is Shade standing there as well. Next up we have Time. So Time is a Nyclime. So her family was actually like high up in the regime, like regime inner circle high up. So she's used to watching the games. She has a lot of insider kind of information about the games that even other Nyclime like Neve don't know. But clearly she's been put in the games for a reason. She is loudmouthed, she's bold, she's arrogant, she's narcissistic. You can't trust anything she says. She's a liar, she's a manipulator, she starts drama, she loves to stir the pot, as I like to say. She likes to manipulate men because that's what she was used to in the Nyclime kind of court. She would manipulate men, and so that's kind of how she gets her way. She flashes her eyes and puts her hair behind her shoulder, and she gets her way all the time, and she starts drama, and she is a fun character, but no fun to actually be around in real life. And we do have art of her. I almost forgot. Or sketch of her. So that is Time, designed by H.A. Pruitt. That's the sketch of her. So that's nice. She is also the most she's the most beautiful woman here. Like, she's the prettiest girl here, and she's the prettiest Nyclime out of all of the other Nyclime females that were taken. Next up, we have Ulmir. Ulmir is a Limir, used to surviving alone. He is violent. He's prone to anger. He is just, the first chance he gets, he loves to just hit people and hurt them and punch them and kill them. And he's pretty much just this big, giant, violent brute of a guy, and you just don't want to mess with him. And he doesn't get along with pretty much anybody, but he'll, like, for the sake of, like, survival, he'll, like, reluctantly get along with whoever kind of other violent people is kind of who he gravitates toward. Zik is a Rin. He is intelligent, so he's actually, like, for a Rin, he's extremely intelligent. He's not athletic at all. He was used to actually in his, I don't remember if it was a caravan, but the people that he lived with and traveled with throughout the Rin, the surface of the world, he would actually keep, like, inventory and keep track of things. So that's why he's very intelligent, very organized, and it was, like, vital to their survival to keep track of, like, all the inventory and all of the things. So that's Zeke, and he actually counts, I think he counts under his breath as he walks, so that's one of his fun quirks. And he's just kind of like, he's a really thin, kind of like skinnier kind of Ren, because usually Rens are like really athletic and bulky and strong because they have to be to like scrap to survive. Even somebody like Raven, like most of the time they're skinny because they don't eat a whole lot more compared to like the people, the Nyclimes in the core, even though the Nyclimes just have naturally slender bodies. But he was even skinnier for Ren. Last but not least, we have Zyla. So she's quick, she's fast, she doesn't talk much, she kind of keeps things to a minimum. She's a Limir, she's used to living alone. She's extremely tough, she's extremely standoffish and like, don't mess with me. And like other men, if they try to mess with her, she'll like, you know, punch them. So she's not afraid to stand up for herself. She's not afraid to fight. She can get violent if she needs to. She doesn't mind that. She's a really decent fighter, and she doesn't get along with anybody. So she's just, and she's really athletic and skilled too. So yeah, that's pretty much Zyla. So those are the characters of Survivor. I'm finally excited to go through all of them. I have done my best to not spoil anything, and I'm horrible at it, but here we are. Which ones sounded more interesting to you? Which ones are more like stood out to you, and which ones are you interested in? Let me know in the comments below. And again, the Kickstarter is going on still right now. We're working toward that first stretch goal. Your name could literally be in this book when it's published for helping to support it and bring it to life. This would not be possible without all of you guys. And this, if you loved these characters, the character guide will be in the Kickstarter edition, and the sketches will be in there. The illustrations that I've shown you guys will be in there, plus some. So, and you'll be able to have, also it has the character and winner death prediction sheets, so that you can fill that out as you go on who you think is going to win, who you think is going to lose, and you can see how close you got as you read through the book. And that's going to be so much fun based on, like, especially now that you know a little bit about the characters, you can kind of make your predictions on who you think is going to win and who you think is going to lose and what you think is going to happen, and then see how close you came. So it's amazing. It's action-packed. It's epic. It's got some romantic subplots that are clean. It's got deadly challenges. It's got lots of like monster attacks. There's a lot of caves in this. So it's exciting, it's thrilling. So that's pretty much Survivor. Please check out the Kickstarter. The link will be in the description below. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more writing and reading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you liked hearing about the characters of Survivor, then check out this video that I did talking about the inspiration behind Survivor, where I talk about where some of these ideas came from. It's a really interesting video that you don't want to miss, so check it out.